what I wanted to let you know that, yes, I'm Stuart Schlossman, president and founder of MS Views and News. So I'm just going to fill you in. So firstly, this is a Compass to Care Rural America program. We call it Compass to Care Rural America and beyond. Okay, and this event is sponsored by Genentech and Bristol-Myers Squibb. All right, and we got to give them a virtual round of applause. All right. So back to what I started to say about Mindy. My gosh, I was in Michigan. I think it was about a year ago, and we were there to do a program not too far. And I think Dr. Ronnie was speaking at that program as well, and Mindy. And Mindy had me come into her studio, and it was pouring outside that night. I remember how soaked I got from the 4 feet of space between getting out of the car and getting underneath. Anyway, Mindy gets me inside and she says, Stuart, you got to get down on the floor and start doing this with my class. And I was like, yeah, right. I mean, I've never done yoga, right? I was so sore for the next 2 weeks, I could barely move. It was just incredible. And
be quiet, you're scaring everybody.
I haven't touched it again, but I should have. If I had you to do it all the time, I would have done it, okay? All right, she's easy to listen to. She's easy to get along with. She's got a great class that has been following her for years. People just keep coming back for more and more, and I understand why. And let's let Mindy talk to you about this. And again, Mindy's going to speak for about 30 minutes. And after that, we also have 4 pages of questions already for Mindy. But if anybody has any questions as we continue in, please type them out like you had opportunity to do a few minutes ago, okay? Thank you very much. Take it away, Mindy.
Thank you, Stuart. I actually want to start by just having you take your arms out, maybe stretch. You've been listening and maybe sitting for a while. So you might want to just rock your body. Some of you may want to stand. Just do a little bit of moving, maybe circling the shoulders around and about. And if you need to stand, go ahead and do it. I know it would feel really good. Stretch out a little bit before we begin. Yes, I am Mindy Eisenberg, and I am the founder and director of Yoga Moves MS, and have been for about 15 years now. I feel absolutely blessed to have this profession. And so today, what we're going to do is talk about what is adaptive yoga and a little bit about my story, very little, and then why it would benefit you. And then we'll do some demo work, and you can do a little moving at home as well. And I definitely want to answer your questions. I sure hope Stuart didn't scare you with his introduction. You do not have to go down onto the mat to do yoga or on the earth, but I'm certainly going to hassle him too. And then you'll see it's user friendly. Yoga should be accessible to everybody, and that's my main message. And I hope that you will join us in this amazing practice. And it really, as Dr. Randy said, making exercise and yoga is a lifestyle. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. So my mother was diagnosed with MS when I was a little girl, and my memories of her she had a very progressive case of MS, and I remember her using a cane for a short period of time, and maybe a year or so, and then a walker, and she spent 25 years in either bed or in a wheelchair. So that was very progressive. It was at a time where they did not have much for MS. Things have changed so much since my mother had it. One thing that stuck with me over the years was her body kept contracting more and more into like a fetal position. And I started to put the dots together as I took yoga classes and then became a yoga teacher, that yoga could indeed help people so that they didn't get so contracted and spastic, and they can feel more comfortable in their bodies. So that's what we're going to tell you today. Next slide. So the objectives today is, what is adaptive yoga? I want you to have a good understanding of what is adaptive yoga. How can it help you with your symptoms of MS? And we'll do that yoga demo. I want you to look at these slides because honestly, I feel they are so much more important than I am. These are our students. These are live students that volunteer to be in our pictures, and you can tell that everyone in these are all smiling. There must be something about yoga that attracts them to come over and over again. And as Stuart said, we've been doing this a while and our community keeps getting larger and larger. So what is yoga? What is yoga? I view yoga as an umbrella. Yoga's not what we call pure exercise. Yes, it is movement, but it's much more than that. The foundation of yoga is breathing. So we could do the same movement, but if we're not paying attention to our breath, then it's really not yoga. So yoga is moving and breathing. Now, under this umbrella also does come the postures that you've seen, and you can see Linda in her down dog in the photo there, in the black and white one in the right corner. And she actually is using yoga dumbbells because being flat on her palms would hurt her wrists. And then you can see Tracy in the middle sitting, and she's actually sitting on a yoga blanket or block or just something to help elevate her hips. And Ina's on her back with her hand on her belly practicing breathing. And then in the bottom right corner, you can see the students. That's actually in our Detroit class. And they're all doing poses in their way, and they all look different, and they all look beautiful. So we have the postures that you see here, and most of all, you feel in your body. And they're not necessarily the samples that you see on a yoga journal cover when you're standing or you're in line at the store. Meditation is part of this umbrella. Is it a requirement? No. I know that the word meditation scares a lot of people from trying it because they think that they need to stay still, but I want to kind of wipe that perception out, because if you need to move while you're meditating, you do. There's movement meditation or mindful movement, which is really yoga, gentle movement while paying attention to moving. And we'll get a little bit more into that. And then yoga is really a lifestyle. So it's bringing in the breathing, the postures, the meditation, or some type of relaxation practice in. And as we become more in tune with our bodies, and we feel our bodies and our minds and our bodies and our spirits are connected, it also intersperses into things like diet, because certain things might feel good in your body and you start to notice, this feels good, or boy, this isn't agreeing with me, or wow, I'm really tired when I eat sugar. I am really guilty of that, of having that sugar sweet tooth, but I also am very aware of how I feel fatigued after that sugar high. Anyway, the point is, we've got breathing, postures, meditation, lifestyle that includes diet, and it includes the way we sleep, when we go to bed, and how we carry on and plan our day. So in the end, yoga is not only the art and science of you, because it really is an introspective study of ourselves, but then we also become more aware of people around us and connected to a community. It is a gift you give yourself because you feel better after you do it. So how is yoga different? What makes yoga different than yoga for MS, different than yoga for anybody? And guess what the answer is? The answer is it's no different. Yoga is adaptive by nature. People think they have to be stuck in a pose, but that is not so. The idea is yoga is for every and anybody. It is not about fancy postures. I hope I can get that message across. Anybody should be able to do yoga. And again, you can see my students in different poses. Penny's giving a big smile, and we call that Penny pose because she loves to stretch her thigh, and she's the top picture. And then you can see below Renee, and she is on a bolster doing a version of child pose. And I always like get this warm hearted feeling when I look at her. She's got an amazing smile, and she honestly looks very cute. Adaptive yoga does use props. We use things like blocks and blankets and maybe a tennis ball, things around the house. It doesn't have to be fancy. You can see that Penny's using a purple yoga strap, but you could be using an old tie around your house or a scarf. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. In general, you don't need to buy anything. It is nice to get a yoga mat, but again, that's not even absolutely necessary. And I will show you some of the props as we go along and do the demo. But generally, you can use things from around your house. The motto with adaptive yoga, or yoga really in its entirety, is no pain, all gain. Yoga should not cause pain in your body. If yoga is causing pain in your body, you're in the wrong class, and there's a message going on here, because pain is a message. Pain is telling the body something is wrong. So what we do with adaptive yoga is switch the pose in a way that you're going to get the benefit of perhaps the way a pose looks completely differently, but it's adapted so that you don't feel the pain. You should feel better from yoga. Yes, there could be a little bit of a reminder that you practiced yoga the day before, but in general, you should feel really good after the practice. In our classes, it's all about safety. Yoga, adaptive yoga, is adjusted to your pace, not the classroom's pace, not the teacher's pace. You get to design your practice. Now, you may be with a group of people, either virtually in a class that we are doing now during COVID. We have all kinds of virtual classes, or you may be in a live class, but everybody's going at their own pace. And if you need to take a break, you do. We have some people who feel like they want a little bit more energy, or they want to do a little bit faster pace, so they do it. They might do it a few times and then take a break. The room temperature, whether you're in a classroom with a teacher or in your house. I know we think of yoga as having to be in a hot room, but it is just not so. We keep it at around 70 to 72 degrees in the room. And of course, at home, you can adjust it for yourself, but you should not feel like you are more fatigued from yoga. And the heat obviously can exacerbate your symptoms or fatigue. So we want to adjust that for you. Now, in the adaptive yoga room, when you're in an adaptive yoga class, we have teachers that are going around and helping. So it's usually about 3 or 4 teachers to about, let's say, 8 to 12 students. We are doing classes now online. And so I would encourage people who want some assistance to maybe have a buddy nearby. But we will show you poses that hopefully you can do by yourself, and then also get some assistance. I want to bring up right here too that care partners should also be doing yoga, because care partners, whether you're on the receiving end or the giving end, it always goes back and forth. In yoga, we feel that we're always giving and receiving at the same time. And so we want to make sure that care partners are also taking care of themselves. And yoga is a form of self-care. All right. So what do our students tell us? What changes for them when they enter the Yoga Moves community? And so I've got a few of the bullets here. Chuck, I don't know whether he's watching this evening or not, but he says that he went from being a skeptic to a believer. He didn't believe yoga could help him out. By the way, Chuck is in the photo. He's on the earth in the mat, surrounded by women, of course. But and it is true that we have more females in yoga, but I hope that the men watching this will join us, because they can benefit certainly just as much, if not more. So Chuck said, I didn't believe yoga was going to do anything for me. And then once he came, he kept coming back regularly, and he has a home practice. And we watched Chuck literally transform before our eyes as he became more comfortable in his body and got to know his body more. You could just see him glowing more and more. People say they go from stagnant to moving. It's real easy to get stuck and not move. And I want to mention, you know, when my mother had MS back in the 70s, they were her doctors and the physical therapists were telling her not to move, because that's what they were telling people. Don't move, you'll make it worse. But we know differently now. We know that movement is helpful. There's a term we use, and I don't want it to rub you the wrong way, because yoga is not medicine, but movement is medicine. So if you can take that with a grain of salt, that movement helps us feel better. When we get stagnant, things get all sticky and stuck and swollen, and our organs don't work the way they should, because we're not moving around. So yoga really helps because it's moving. And for some reason you don't do yoga, I really encourage you to move, whatever it may be. Now, and a real advantage to yoga is and meditation is, and we have studies on this. When I first started, yoga was so much in its infancy, and we didn't have the studies that we have now about yoga therapy and how it can help. And these studies are growing exponentially when it comes to meditation. And we know meditation helps with anxiety and depression. There are multiple studies about this, and I believe also with cognition, because obviously when our anxiety is down, we're able to think clearer. When we're less depressed, we can think clearer. And so we do have people say that their anxiety goes down when they practice the yoga. Moving and breathing in a peaceful community can be so healing. The desperate to grateful, that is, I think it comes mainly from the students who are feeling very isolated. And we know at this time people are feeling isolated. And what yoga can do, and we don't think of it this way, is it can provide a community for you to go to. And it almost becomes like a support group, but it comes a support group. We also have a mission, which is to feel really good. And so we do some moving and meditation and breathing together. And we also have a little bit of chatting before class and then a little bit of after. And being part of this community can make us feel so grateful as we feel more connected. We have students who tell us they were really scared to try yoga, and they kept that flyer about yoga in their kitchen drawer for years and didn't make that phone call or didn't send that email. And now it would be just push the button to Zoom. And once they did it, they felt so much better, and they realized how yoga was helping ground them. Yoga can be very grounding when we're anxious. And of course, anxiety is all over right now, especially, but anxiety is a part of life, and I don't know many who don't experience it in the times that we live in. So yoga can be very rooting and very grounding and help us to feel more centered. When people start the yoga practice, the phone might be ringing, they might have 15 things to do, but settling that time that's just you time or me time, that gives you a place to have some space and to treat yourself like you deserve to be treated. And next slide. So what we are finding and what we hear from our students over and over again is how yoga has transformed them. I have some students who are so gracious, and I get little texts and emails telling them how happy they are that they found yoga and that they found the community. And the thing about yoga is we're working from the inside out rather than the outside in. And so we're really getting into layers, not just the first layer of the stretch, but really getting in and feeling the body, feeling sensation, and learning to be at least friends with the body. To what tends to happen when someone gets a diagnosis such as MS is People want to push away from their body, get out of their body, get away from it. They're mad at their body, they're angry, and literally want to live in their head and not in the body. And so through yoga, we have students say they're no longer identified by their MS. They realize who they are, which is a vital human being, a human being. I love the quote from Jon Kabat-Zinn, one of my meditation teachers and very renowned. And he says, we are human beings. We are not human doings. We are human beings. And so yoga and meditation help us to just to be with who we are and to be in this body. And yes, we might get angry with it, but can we find a way to make friends with the body, to cope with the pain, and perhaps a different way that feels better? So what happens is, when you hear people say that mind, body, spirit, we're literally connecting the glue back together. And the breath is what connects the mind and the body and the spirit together. So with that, I want to start doing some poses with you, and I'm eager to hear your questions as well. Let's do a little yoga together, and then I certainly want to take all of your questions. And as Stuart said, if for some reason we run out of time, then we will answer them for you and get them back to you. So let's just start. Now, we don't have to be in on a mat. You know, we don't have to be down on the mat. Now, some of the students love to be down on the mat, but you don't have to be. And most of our classes, our adaptive yoga classes, use a chair. Now, here's some of the other props that we use. A block. Someone just told me today that they used a toilet paper roll instead of a block. And I thought, wow, that's an awesome idea. We tell people sometimes to use like a ball like this. They could use that instead. Things we do with the block are like put it in between our thighs and squeeze it, or in between our hands. We do all kinds of things with them, pretty innovative. And the thing about yoga is that adaptive yoga especially is that we can be creative. We use soup cans just like you guys might use for stretching and strengthening the wrist. This yoga strap, like I said, you could be using a tie instead of a fancy yoga strap. It's not absolutely mandatory. In yoga, we don't use straps that are stretchy though. They're more material, so they're taut when we pull them. And I have to show you this because I think many of you might recognize this. This is an amazing yoga prop. We use this. I'm going to show you how. But the cane, if you don't have a cane, I suggest getting one just as a yoga prop. And you might use pillows. You might use pillows, and you have blankets or towels at home, and that's also very helpful for a yoga practice. So let's start, and I must say, yoga is about being safe. That's number one. You need to feel safe in your body. So whatever I do today, please join me, but only if you feel safe doing it. And if you don't, then we find a way to help you adjust. And that's what yoga, adaptive yoga is. We find another way for you. And so your body's going to look completely different than my body as we do some of these poses together. So we're going to start by, as we did, let's circle the shoulders around and about. And I want you to really feel it. Now, if you can, rock forward and back as we circle the shoulders. And just feel what's touching the chair and your feet touching the earth. And then find neutral and sense. And sense your body in space. Sense your feet down on the mat or the earth or the carpet or the floor. And feel a nice tall spine. So you can press your hands down into the thighs to lift tall. We call this inner body bright. We want to make space for our breath. Take your hands to your belly. and feel your belly and your breath without commentary, right? So one of the principles of mindfulness, which we integrate into our classes, is no judgment. So there's no good or bad. There's no good or bad, it just is. So feeling the belly expand and then descend. And it expands on the inhale, and then it softens back down as you exhale through your nose. Now, if you're feeling stuffy, then you're gonna exhale out through your mouth. And if not, the exhaling through the nose is known to relax the nervous system. So that's what we want to do in general. So breath becomes even inhale, even exhale. And the more that we witness the breath, we feel the breath, we practice breathing, the inhales and the exhales start to get equal with each other without even you trying to. So breathing in and then breathing out. And inhale and feel that lift in your inner body as the inhale lifts you, and you might even feel it all the way up to the crown of your head. And then keep that lift as you exhale out through your nose. So just sitting in what we call mountain pose can be work. Let's take our palms down by our side and let them face forward. And you can kind of rock right and left and feel your sit bones on the chair. And just feel as we rock, and then come back to center. And notice perhaps if one hip feels heavier than the other. You might rock forward and back. And notice when you find the center between forward and back, and then the belly, there'll be a little bit of toning in the belly at that place. Just be right here. Relax your shoulders down. And then on our next inhale, let's take our arms out to the side. So inhaling, arms come out to the side. And then exhale and float them down. Inhale, arms rise up. And exhale, they lower back down. This is yoga. It doesn't have to be fancy movements. And if your arm goes to here, that's great. If your arms go to here, that's great. If one goes up and one goes down, awesome. Relax them down. Let's inhale and take the arms forward, and then interlace your fingers and press the wrists, the heels of your wrists away from you. Good. And then exhale, release, hands to the top of the knees. We're going to go into what's called cat pose. So I'm turning to my side so you can see what cat looks like. Cat, we're going to round the spine. The chin comes to the chest. As we lean back, pull the belly in. Your hands can be on your thighs and your knees. This should feel really good. There's a spreading of the shoulder blades as the chin moves down, the back of the neck gets long. And then on the inhale, spine lifts, heart lifts, shoulder blades come together. Your gaze may or may not lift upward. And then we do it again. We exhale and we round like a wave. Lean back. And then we inhale and we lift up and pull the shoulder blades very gently towards each other. Heart lifts. So it's a little bit of a back bend. One more time. Exhale, rounding like the cat, leaning back. Feel a nice stretch. You'll feel the vertebrae spreading. Picture your vertebrae making space. And then we inhale and we lift up and we open the front side of our body and our heart lifts up towards the sky. And I'm going to face you now. I wish I could see you. That is part of the fun for a yoga teacher, is being with the students, I must say. And to see your expressions is very helpful, because in an adaptive yoga class, we tend to, as teachers, we are trained to pay attention and look to see if someone isn't feeling comfortable or if perhaps another adaptation may be helpful. Let's take, I'm going to mirror you. So right arm comes up towards the sky. Now you only go as far as your arm is comfortable. So your arm may go halfway. The elbow might bend to lift up, or you might lift it all the way towards the sky. And if you do, reach high, reach high, reach high, and then exhale and flow the arm down. And let's take the other side. So inhale, arm comes up. Maybe this arm doesn't come quite as high. Maybe the elbow bends. Maybe it doesn't. Straighten as much as is comfortable for you. Try to relax the shoulders down. And then we're going to take a side bend towards the right and push down through the feet. That's what I meant by rooting down, feeling rooted, pressing, pressing, pressing through the feet. And inhale, we come back to center and lower the hand back down. So I want to show you the leg stretch because so many people with MS have spasticity, and we spend a lot of time on that. And I really feel that the leg stretch is one of the best things we can do. So I'm going to show you with the tie and the cane. We're going to start with the right leg. Actually, I'm going to show you without either of these first, in case you don't have either nearby. So you can interlace your hands or put your hands underneath your right leg, and then you lift the knee towards you, and like you're going to give your kneecap a hug or a kiss inward, and then you can gently press it away. Now, the leg may or may not lengthen all the way. It may straighten and it may not. But what we're doing is we're pushing the thigh into the hands and the hands into the thigh. At the same time, we're pushing down through the left leg. And as we press away, we press the heel away, the leg gets a little bit more of a stretch. Try to keep leaning forward in the sit bones. I'm going to show the same thing with the tie, because you're wondering, why do you have these yoga ties? So this can go around the foot. Sometimes we crisscross it a few times. See, that's what it looks like. I'll show it sideways here. So this may be where we're at, right? If the leg is really tight, it may not straighten all the way, but it helps to hold on to the tie, not for dear life. We want to keep the shoulders up and back here, and then we slowly press away until we feel a stretch. And this may be where the stretch is, or this may be where the stretch is, or maybe the leg is down on the earth. So it looks like, so we put the heel down on the earth and gently bend the elbows, pull the shoulders back and stretch. And now I have to show you what it's like with the cane. I'm telling you, I didn't just come up with these. The students are helpful. And that's the thing about adaptive yoga, is that the students come up with adaptations that work in their body, and we go, oh, wow, that's pretty cool. Other people could do that too. So we can put the foot into the top of the handle on the cane and then push it away into the handle as we hold it and get a good stretch here. Now, this could be done with 2 chairs, with my leg on another chair, or it could be done on the floor, or even in some people do it in bed. It can also be done on your back. I'm just going to show you what I mean, because this could be done in bed as well, and it's such a great stretch for the legs. So you might go on the earth, or if you were in bed, right, you could still do this stretch, because I knocked the wall here. So you would put your foot in the tie or on the cane handle, or have your hand behind. And that's a nice stretch right there. This knee would stay bent if you're super tight. And then we can do all kinds of things here to really stretch the leg out and the 3 hamstrings. So that's that. I just want you to see that these poses can be done in a chair, on the mat, or standing. And we have some students who are like, well, I want to stand. And so, of course, we make that available to them as well. For instance, let me show you what wall dog looks like. So this is for someone who might stand. Their hands would be on the wall or the back of the chair or the seat of the chair as they walk back, and then they'd get a stretch to their spine and their legs. And the reason we call that wall dog is because we normally do it at the wall, but you do not need to see the back side of me. So I'm going to resituate here. And that gives you an idea of leg stretch. I want to show you a hip opener because a lot of our hips get super tight. So we're going to bring our right knee in towards us and circle it around. Another thing that can be done on your back. Circle it around gently and slowly to really feel, because yoga is more about sensation than how does the pose look. It's how does the pose feel. We're going to put the foot over the knee. Now, some people they might bring their foot like this, and that might be a hip opener for them. Some people might use the block and do something like this, or another chair. And this could be a hip opener. If people are super tight in their adductors or inner thighs, then they may or may not bring their foot up, like so. So now we're going to lean forward until we feel a stretch, no matter what leg position you are doing. And we stop when we feel the sensation, and we take about 3 breaths right here. We don't want to rush a stretch. We don't want to rush and push through a spasm. When we do that, the spasm pushes back on us. So the best thing to do, we find, is to go in super slow and not to go all the way where we think we can go, but go slower than slow, and maybe start when you're new to yoga at 20% of where you think you can go, and then you can keep going a little bit more with range of motion as you feel comfortable. Because remember, it's all gain, no pain. And then we'll come back up and do that other side. So whatever feels comfortable for you, first circle the knee around. I want to show you, I have one student who feels like the leg is very heavy, and we know with MS, the leg can feel very, very, very heavy, and not to mention that this thigh bone is one of the heaviest bones in the body, so of course it feels heavy. So she came up with this, which is to circle the knee around with the strap around the thigh, and that helps her to find this range of motion without feeling so much strain. She can use both hands, and shoulders are up and back. So that's to kind of loosen up the joint. Notice these are range of motion, loosening up joints, so important. Before we would do any heavy duty stretching, we do things like wrist curls, just to get it moving. I'm always so surprised by the stretch from doing this, just from circling the wrists and the knuckles around and about both ways. And then we'll do this other side. So it may be here, it may be up on another chair, it might be on a block or 2 blocks, and feel. Then we lean forward. Once we're positioned safely, we lift tall through the spine, and it might be just right here. We press down gently through the thigh as we lean forward. So I want you to take a breath or 2 there. I'm going to show you just so you can see that this pose can be done in bed or on the floor. It looks like this. A lot of you do bridge pose when you go to physical therapy. And by the way, physical therapy and yoga are awesome complements for each other. PT, you absolutely need when your doctor prescribes it for specific reasons. Yoga is more looking at the total body as opposed to a specific body part. So this would be number 4 on the earth or in bed, and you might pull the knee in towards you, and this is how it looks. What I'm trying to do is just give you a little bit of a taste for adaptive yoga, that it doesn't have to be just one way. And now let's do a twist. Let's do a twist, because twisting is so important. We yogis believe you got to twist every day for digestion, to keep things moving, especially during these times. We're doing a lot of sitting. We're in our houses on our computers. So doing a twist is so important to help digest our food. Let's twist to the right. So to do this, we lift up tall, and then you're going to take your left hand outside your right thigh and your right hand behind you. Push down through the sit bones, and then lift up tall through the spine. And then turn gently, neck turns last, very, very gentle. When you feel you're at your place, take about, and place means where am I feeling a twist and no pain, then take 3 conscious breaths right here. Inhaling and exhaling. Breathing in, breathing out. We're taking in fresh air. and we're letting go and releasing on the exhale. And come back to center. And then notice how this side feels different than the other side in your body. Now let's take the right hand outside the left thigh and the left hand behind you. Press down through the sit bones. Feel length all the way to the top of your head. And then exhale, find a little twist. Bending the elbows out to the side, feeling nice and broad across the front of your body. And then inhale, come back to center. Stuart, I don't see you doing your twist. Oh, he was just checking in and then he's gone again. Then he's gone.
I am still here and I clicked the wrong button. I wanted to be audio and not video.
Okay.
But yes, I was doing some of your stretching.
Okay, good to hear. Good to hear.
Great.
So we'll do a few more stretches and then I want to take your questions. The neck is a place that always gets tight for people when they're in stress. So we lift up tall and draw the shoulders up and back. And then drop your right ear down towards your right shoulder and try to relax the right shoulder. You might even let the left hand get heavy because that helps to bring some length through the side of the neck. You might take your right hand to the top of the head. It's not a pulling, it's a gentle touching. And then we inhale and we come back to center. And then we exhale to balance it out to the other side. Drop the left ear towards the left shoulder. And you will notice, as I am right now, that one side is generally tighter than the other. You might use your hand on your head and you might not. We take a breath in, we take a breath out, and we return back to neutral. And we just notice. And each time we come to the yoga mat, our body is different. Each time we come to the yoga mat, we come with different things going on in our lives, but it helps us center. And the breath is such a gift, such a gift. So as we end any of the demos, though I will be taking any of your questions, I want to leave you with alternate nostril breath because that is a breath that can help to balance the nervous system. So we'll do it together, and I encourage you to try it on your own. You can, and I will give you some cues how you can do that. But so you're going to take your right hand to your right nostril, and then your ring finger to your left. Oh, see, Stuart's got it going here. All right, Stuart, all right, so first take a breath in and a breath out. And then you're gonna block the right nostril, inhale in through the left, block the left, exhale out through the right. Then you're gonna inhale through the right, block the right, exhale out through the left. If it's a lot for you to hold your hand up like that, you can just visualize doing that, or you can actually use your 2 index fingers and do it that way. So it would look like this. Inhale in through the left, block it, exhale out through the right, inhale in through the right, block it, exhale out through the left. A lot of people don't use their hands, they just visualize air going in one nostril and out the other, and then in and across and down. I recommend using your hands at first. Doesn't matter which hand you use, if you're a righty or a lefty, but do anywhere from 10 to 20 rounds. You might want to blow your nose beforehand, and we usually hand out a box of Kleenex, and it can be very helpful when you're feeling kind of helter-skelter, imbalanced. I had one student who had a very severe case of vertigo and was in the hospital for about 3 weeks. And she says alternate nostril breath saved her, and that it was one of the best tools that she had in her toolbox. And really, that's what yoga does. We keep trying to give you tools to help us to maintain health, to feel more centered and more balanced. So let's bring our palms together in front of our heart so you can feel the palms come together, and you might even feel the heat here. And this is a yoga mudra. This is a yoga mudra, but it's also used in so many different cultures as a way of saying thank you or for greetings. And so with the thumbs pressing into the center of your heart, it's a way for you to tap into what's really most important at your heart center. We say heart center in yoga, not the anatomical heart. So you're really tapping into your inner light. And what our yoga practice does is it helps us to unpeel these layers, and so that you do remember and know that the light is inside of you. And so at an end of a yoga practice, we say namaste, which means the light in me bows to the light in you, and that we are all connected together through this light. So I thank you for listening to me, and now I'm eager to answer your questions. I think there was another slide. It was how to contact me, but we can put that on after.
Coming on now.
Oh, okay, there you go. So I do want to say this then. We have virtual daily classes now. As a result of COVID, people had told me to get virtual, get that going, and COVID did help that. We have classes now every day except Sunday. And these classes are donation based. You are welcome to join them. We have people coming now, it's amazing me, from Germany, from Europe. I'm having people contact me from Kuwait. Amazing, amazing. And our community is so excited here in little old Michigan, snowy Michigan, to have everyone join us on a daily basis. And so all you have to do is go to my website and fill out the waiver, and you will receive links to join the classes once a week. I really encourage you to connect with us in that way. I do have a book and videos and a new adaptive yoga cards. So that is a resource that you can have. This book has sequences in the back in the book, and they go together with videos that you can get on my website. And these are our newest and greatest. And the reason they're great is because our students are on the front of these cards. And on all of these cards, there's George. And on the back are different variations with very simple instructions so that you don't have to remember how to do a pose. They're in your seat, on the mat, and on your feet with a little instruction manual. So I hope you will contact me and join our classes as a resource that is available to you. All right, Stuart, bring on the questions.
Great. And I've got questions for you. Okay, so firstly, let's everybody thank Mindy. Yay, virtually, everybody clap. Awesome, thank you. Okay, actually had one person write back applause. Very good. All right, awesome. All right, so first person named Barbara says, what kind of yoga is done for people who have to spend most of their day in a wheelchair?
Yoga in a chair. We do yoga in a chair, but I also would say, let's do some yoga in bed as well so that we can lie on the back. So, and most of the poses that we do can be adapted in the chair. Yes, it may require the help of a yoga buddy. I'm going to tell you first and foremost, as long as you are breathing, there is more right with you than wrong with you. Breathing is the most important part of yoga and the practice. And then there is movement. Movement is secondary. It comes after the breathing practice. So yes, movements that you can do by yourself, and then movements perhaps with a yoga buddy or care partner.
Right. I would think that breathing is very important overall, even to get you to the point of doing the yoga. What do you think?
What do you think?
I think that it's very needed.
It is.
Okay, so
we forget to breathe, Stuart. That is a big thing that goes on. We don't realize it, but we hold our breath. I just read this fantastic book called Breathe by James Nestor and learned so much. He went through times in all the way from 300 years ago. They did these studies about breathing. A lot of us are mouth breathers. That is not the most efficient way to breathe. It depletes our body. Apnea is so big. People not getting a good night's sleep and having breathing issues. Strengthening our breath, becoming aware of our breath can be one of the steps that we are all equipped to do. We can all do for ourselves.
concerning breath and concerning yoga, is there any actual breathing exercises that are specific to yoga exercise?
The most basic breath that we teach in the beginning is belly breath. And you can do this by seated or lying down in bed, on the floor, with your hands on your belly and observing your breath and noticing the wave of the breath. The first breath that we teach is through the nostrils, as long as someone's not clogged up from a cold or something going on. The reason we breathe through our nose is because it tends to relax the nervous system, which we know can get a little helter-skelter with MS. So we want to calm the nervous system down. That's why we start with nostril breathing. I call it complete yoga breath. Over time, we want to breathe into our lower belly, our middle rib cage, and our upper chest. So some people call it three-part diaphragmatic breath. So we want to get to the point of taking a full breath, but without straining, without pushing, without pulling.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. All right, next, can you kindly discuss yoga exercises that target hip strengthening and hip raises?
Hip raises and hip strengthening. So that's getting into some real advanced stuff, but I think I'm going to show you, first of all, doing something like, it looks subtle, but it's actually very mindful, is to push down through one foot. So I'm going to push down through my right foot and inhale and lift the left up, and then exhale and lower it down, and do the same to the other side. So things like that can help. We do things that are a little bit more complicated, which we would do in a yoga class or even a private session to help with the hip raises. That would generally not be in the chair. So it might be on the earth. We do hip strengtheners that are down on the mat or standing. So one of them might be something like this that you see in physical therapy, starting in constructive rest pose. And then we would press down through our feet and draw our shoulders back. And then as we press down, we rise up. And then that's the inhale. And then we exhale and we lower back down. So as we learn to do this, we can start to tone different parts of our gluteal muscles that can help with strengthening. And there's also things you can do, like inhale, lift up, and then maybe one leg comes up for a breath, or a half a millimeter of a second, or whatever, very, very short, and then you put it down, and then lower the hips. And then we might try the other side, lift the hips, and maybe for a breath, or just a teeny little moment in time, and then exhale, lower it down, and play along like that. There's so many different exercises that we can do. That's why you got to join class. I'll show you one other one just to give you a little taste, and this is in my book. I did not put this in the cards because it's a little bit more advanced. This would be for someone who's got the balance to stand. They might use a wall and a chair. See, this chair is going to block, but I'm going to show it without the chair, but I want you to know that you should have a chair for balance when you're doing something like this. Do not practice this without somebody nearby, without the support that you need. But we do things like you can stand on a block and play with lifting a hip up and down. I think that's what's being referred to. This can be done, but you, again, want to make sure you have the support and the balance to be able to do something like that.
Great, thank you. All right, next one. I'm having trouble getting started with yoga. Any suggestions? I have spasticity in my legs, which makes getting started difficult despite knowing it will help.
Yes, you know what? The hardest part is just starting. That's the hardest part. It's like the procrastination, because there's anxiety, there's this thought that it might cause pain, but remember, we had Chuck who said he became a believer once he actually stepped into the room, and we had people who become believers. And so ask someone to give you a little nudgy and do it with you maybe the first time, or, you know, if they're not in your house, have them call you and say, hey, go sign on to that class. I know that class starts at noon tomorrow. Go on and do it. You just got to push yourself to just do it. And I don't think you're going to be sorry. I'll be really surprised if you are. You let me know. So because we've made this virtual now, it's available to you. So we really hope you will take up the resource that is there for you. Today, after class, we actually, after our virtual class, someone said she was from South Carolina. I mean, this is what the beauty is, right? Like somebody from South Carolina, she attended the class, and then she said, can I ask you something, because I'm having trouble straightening my right leg. What's the best thing I can do? And so we spent about 10 minutes after class with her, virtually helping her through that, what she could do. And that is the beauty of this now. So I hope that you will join us to get started.
Okay, thank you. Good answer. I like that. All right, next. Is there anything specific that can be done as far as pelvic or abdominal exercises for bladder muscles?
Okay, so this is one of those controversial things. I believe that we can be empowered to make a difference and to strengthen ourselves. Will it solve incontinence? No, that needs to be done with the doctor. But there are things that you can do to help yourself. And in my book, there's a whole section on pelvic floor strengthening and toning. And we do talk about this in class. I'm going to show you just one. First of all, the cat-cow is very important. This going back and forth together with the breath is extremely important. Those of you who gave birth or went to Lamaze know that they taught you the breathing. But what often gets left out is that we have to release and let go. So there's the tightening, but there's not the releasing. And that is the key, that a lot of us walk around like this, holding it and tightening. That is weakening the system. So if the system is weak, of course, we're going to have an issue. In order to strengthen the system, we breathe in, we exhale, we pull the pelvic floor muscles in and up, then we have to release it. And that's the part that often is forgotten. So we do teach that. The yoga breath can be very instrumental. There's actually a diaphragm lower in the pelvic floor. I could talk about this for hours. Honestly, I could. So I'll restrain myself, but props like this, sometimes we use it and we squeeze the block with our adductors, our inner thighs. We pull the belly in, we tone the pelvic floor, and then we release. And we do exercises just like that. It doesn't look like I'm doing anything, right, Stuart? I'm not doing anything. And then release. So one of the biggest issues is holding on. The other one is the tightness. So what we try to do just by loosening up these inner thighs can very often be very helpful for a very tight pelvic floor.
Okay, thank you. All right, we have to shorten up some of the answers, so I'm going to go through some of the questions that I believe will give short answers.
You're so funny, Stuart.
So I need to do this like rapid fire for the next 5 minutes, where you answer within 20 seconds on each of the next 5 questions, okay? What's that?
It's a lot of pressure, Stuart. This is yoga.
Yeah, well, do it yoga ways. All right. How often should we be doing yoga?
My answer is every day, but you got to start with realistic. What is reality for you? What will you do? And then we can build up from there.
Is there such a thing as too much yoga?
There's such a thing as too much yoga where you're injuring yourself, but I don't think there is, because there's not too much breathing. You can't breathe too much, so the answer is no. But if it's done wrong, then it's too much from the very beginning.
Which is better for you, yoga or exercise?
Ooh, I think it's important to be well-rounded. Of course, yoga is my favorite, but it's nice to be well-rounded. We have people who are runners and then do yoga on opposite days, or do it before they stretch, or stretch beforehand and after. So you have to build it into what works for you. There's not like you have to do this. We have to adapt to what your needs are.
Strengthening or yoga for spasticity?
What? I'm not.
Stretching or yoga for spasticity?
I integrate the two. So when we're stretching, we're breathing together. That alone, I've had students tell me that the breath practices helps their spasticity because it relaxes the body.
I need a tissue.
They go together.
Right.
I would tell you, go ahead, do your stretches, but make sure you're breathing while you stretch. They really go together. Stuart, did I lose you?
No. Next is, are there any free yoga classes out there?
I just told you that there are. So you can go to my site and sign the waiver and join our classes. We do not charge. We are a nonprofit, just like MS Views and News. So any donations do help, but there's no required payment. There are other classes around the country as well. So when it's back to live classes, then we can help you find those classes through different sites. And so it just depends where you live, but there should be classes all around. In terms of free, I'm not sure. I know there used to be, and I'm sure there will be again.
I hope everybody heard you say that. Yeah, donations are great. We love them too. And but they're not required, okay? But yes.
Thanksgiving Tuesday, Stuart.
Well, we missed it this year. We were too busy with programs. All right, next. Is there yoga for us that, no, we're, okay. So for the people that are in wheelchairs, what's best for them to do if they're able to get out of the wheelchair at all? What are the best exercises they could do if they can get out of their chairs for a short period of time?
I think the exercise is on the floor. If they're able to get out of the chair, if they're able to go from the chair to another chair, that's always great. Because the challenge with wheelchairs is posture, and people tend to round back because of the structure of the wheelchair. If they can go from a wheelchair to a chair, awesome. If not, I say get on the back and in bed. It might be the easiest way to do that. You definitely need help, but we have so many different exercises that can be done in bed.
All right, there are many people with MS that are in wheelchairs or using scooters or walkers, whatever. They can't get on the floor if they're alone because they can't get off the floor. And so are you suggesting then that they use a bed like you were saying, or?
Yes, because what happens is you're right. If you know that you're going to have trouble getting back up again, you certainly don't want to go down. So you either have help or you stay at a level that you can. I want to show you that some things can be done with 2 chairs, right? And then we also can use a bed. Now, a firm mattress does help. You know, when you go to exercise therapy or you go to therapy, they have one of those platforms that people go on to. So we would use the bed instead, but 2 chairs could work as well. So you're in the wheelchair and then another chair is there, and we can practice different stretches that way. So they're probably, for people who are in a wheelchair, are going to need a little bit of assistance to get some stretches, to be handed some props, to set up chairs. Yes, in bed, you can do some, like the leg stretch I showed you. There's different twists that you can do in bed. I'm just going to show you because I don't want you to think I'm just telling you something and it's not true. All right? So you can do a twist in bed. You can do a twist in bed. There are so many different things that we can do in bed. We can do those pelvic tilts. We can do the number 4. We might even do a happy baby or a curling. It just feels good to move, right? And if you can get out of the chair, I do encourage. You can certainly do yoga from the scooter as well.
Thank you. Next question. How can I stretch my ankles?
Well, there are different poses for that. I would start by circling the ankle around and about using perhaps your hand to do that. So a very simple circling of the ankle like this. You can use your hands to do that. Super important. Important to point the foot and flex the foot like so. Some people like to sit towards the edge of the chair and curl down like that. I'm going to show it on the side. Some people cramp. So the best thing they can do is put a blanket under their foot so that it doesn't cramp. But you want your foot to be warm before you do something like this. Otherwise, it will cramp. So this can be done on the floor, but I'm not going to show that today. But this stretches the front of the ankle. You can see how it's straightening it. It's important to stretch the ankle. It's important to strengthen the ankles. And so things like doing heel lifts, seated or standing, can be very helpful. Really what we're doing is strengthening the calves there, right? But I know a lot of people with MS get a lot of tightness, and flexion is pretty tough. I encourage you to use things like a tennis ball or a ball and put that under your foot and roll around to get the fascia on the bottom of your foot warmed up and moving. It actually lubricates the joints to do things like that. Self-massage is awesome to get some lotion and massage your feet and ankles. In fact, I have it's a free workshop tomorrow. Mandy's doing one of our teachers. You're welcome to sign on to the website and go to that tomorrow at 11 o'clock.
By the way, if anybody out there wants to massage my feet, I definitely agree with it, all right? I think it would be awesome, okay?
Oh,
all right.
Boy.
We have one last question, okay? And that is from Barbara, who is wanting to know which of your books focuses on the yoga in a wheelchair.
They all have yoga in the chair. I suggest if they want, so either the book or the cards. I always tell people, I think starting with the cards, it just depends who they are. But also we can have people come on to the site into these classes. We will help them. We will help them learn how to do it. But this has yoga in the chair on it. So that might be a good way to start. I'm happy to talk to them. They can email me or text me or call me if they're interested.
Right. Did you have a special for them this evening for getting that book?
Absolutely. If they want to do the book and the cards, then we will ship them free to them, as long as they're in this country.
Right.
It's crazy what they charge to go out of the country. So if they do, then they should email me so I make sure that they get the free shipping.
Right, right. And for anybody who wants Mindy's email address, just send an email to me directly, and I will send you Mindy's email address so that way you can contact her, okay? Another question just came in. Sorry. This will be the last one. Please, nobody else ask another question after this, because I hate saying no. All right.
Just email me and ask the question.
Okay. What does she write? Hi, is it true that not doing exercise for a couple of months will cause spasticity?
It could. It depends if someone has spasticity. It won't necessarily, if one of your symptoms is spasticity, not moving is probably going to make it worse. But it's not going to necessarily cause it. I think what it does is it exacerbates it, because spasticity is creating contraction, and yoga or some type of stretching helps to come out and lengthen out of the contraction slowly. That's why we want to do slowly, small bits at a time, as opposed to crunch, 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 stretch, 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 leave it for 2 months. That will not work. Spasticity comes over time and needs to be stretched over time.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. Now I have a question for you.
Uh-oh.
And that is only because we are asked it so many times. What is the difference between a leg cramp or a foot cramp or whatever and spasticity? Truly, what is the difference?
A leg cramp, that would be more of a question for a doctor, but here's where I'm going to come at it from a yoga perspective. What are we going to do about it? How does it feel in the body, right? Generally, I think a leg cramp comes on, it's really super intense, which sometimes a spasm is like that, and then it goes away. Now, sometimes stomping on it makes it go away. But with spasticity, it's usually more repetitive. It's not just like one and it's done, right? A cramp, I usually see there's a cramp and then it goes away. Like for instance, this causes a cramp, we stop it and it goes away. But with a spasm, it comes right back at you again. And I'm generalizing, but the observation that I've seen is spasms, they come on. Spasms are different than spasticity. That's a whole nother thing. People think that spasms are spasticity, but spasticity is really a tightening going on that we don't necessarily see these little movements going on, and it's causing contraction deep inside. And so we can't see them. With a leg cramp, you feel it, and it's quick, right? Spasticity is happening generally over a longer period of time. I hope that's helpful.
Okay, yes, thank you. All right, so Mindy, thank you very, very much for doing this evening. It was greatly appreciated. Yes, I will do that too. Namaste.
Namaste, yes.
Namaste, namaste.
I really enjoy it every time.
And we look forward to doing this again with you in the future, whether virtually or hopefully we can get back to Novi and see you in person and get it all put together. We've been promising Dr. Ronnie. We were waiting for his center to be built, and then we were going to come up there and do a very large function with him, some of the therapists, you yourself, and we are looking forward to that day happening, and we will make it happen as soon as we could get past the current situation. All right. So for everybody that was online tonight, I thank you for being here. If you have any questions, please remember you can send them in to me by email. You could address who it was for, whether it was for Dr. Ronnie or for Mindy, and we will make sure to get them your questions, okay? Please remember that this program was supported tonight by Genentech and Bristol-Myers Squibb, and we want to thank them as well. So if you get a chance, go to their websites and take a look at what they have if you don't know what they have, okay? And for the night, I want to thank our producer, of course, because I couldn't do these programs without him. And of course, to Mindy and all of you, again, thank you. Be well. We'll be back soon. Bye-bye.